YouTube, welcome back to my channel. I'm your host TKK and we are back with another video, guys. I think it's safe to say that the smoke has cleared with the TV shootout. We know that the A95L pretty much, took it 2 years in a row. And so what I wanted to do, I cleaned my TV up. I got the A95L and 77-inch behind me. It's been a fantastic TV. I've had it since 23. Have not got a reproduction of it, so it's been the same panel that I've had and I've always shown on the channel. The good thing about this, all the content that has been made around this TV from myself and virtually everybody else from a content creating perspective is still there for you to be able to kind of utilize in case you're interested in this TV. The point of this video today, I pretty much just kind of wanted to re-review this TV, but just not in all totality. I don't need to go over every single, corner of the TV, but just kind of to talk about like what it's been like, okay? And the foundation of my content is pretty much like I buy my stuff and I review it multiple times just in different ways, right? So just kind of going over some different bullet points about like what I like about the TV, what I don't like about the TV, since I have owned it for about 2 years now, okay? But again, it went in the TV shootout, definitely puts owners like myself in a good position to feel confident that we made the right decision. We're gonna have timestamps in this video. Feel free to utilize them to get to a specific talking point. Beyond that, this is a talking video. I gotta get back to making some discussional content with you guys. We're gonna get it going right after this intro. All right, guys, so welcome back to my channel. I want to start off with this video just talking about like, this television. So I've got it in 77. Our brief review today is going to be with this TV in 77-inch. Now, when I purchased the TV, it was at its retail cost of $5,000. I'm pretty sure it's holding the same value, though I've seen sales $500, $800. I've seen up to $900 off on the TV, brand new. Of course, depending on where you're located, if you happen to find an open box TV, you can save some money that way. Still going to have the manufacturer warranty. In most cases, the retail chain that you're buying it from puts you in a position where you can buy an additional warranty from them. So it's kind of a win-win, especially if you've falling on knowing that this is the TV that you want. I want to first open up by just saying that like this TV wasn't the TV I was going for last year. Last year, I was a very early adopter, pretty much the first of the normal content creators on YouTube last year with the S95C, okay? That's the Samsung variant generation 2. I also own it in a 77-inch. I had some intermittent issues with that TV blacking out. It's a well-known thing. It was like I was the first one talking about it on the camera, and I caught a lot of backlash from commenters and such like that, maybe thinking that I was just trying to kind of sabotage the brand. But I've made a lot of content around that. And so, that just ultimately led me to opening my wallet up the same year, going from a $4,500 TV, which again, I did get a slight discount. The content is in chronological order from last year, but I ended up dropping 5Gs on this TV, and I have been extremely happy with this TV. The S95C offered me a little bit more by way of being a slight better TV for gaming. And it has some more port connectivity in case I wanted to connect more than just the two HDMI 2.1 sources. You don't really need a receiver. I digress. This TV just in totality offered me everything that I felt like I needed from a quality of build. UI works. It's just everything. Everything just worked out to be really good for me. So again, just kind of have that in mind if you feel like, the pricing and everything is where you want it to be on the TV. It's one of those chef kiss type TVs where, you want to know what you're buying into, but once you settle on it, I pretty much don't see much issues with it. All right, so there has been one comment that I've seen very many times on YouTube in regards to this TV. Some people have complained about, them having an issue with maybe it taking too long to turn on. I power my TV on and I'm seeing like the whole Google interface less than 2 seconds. That is going through a receiver. My TV is connected using a Denon receiver, 900 series to be specific. It does offer me 4 HDMI 2.1, right? So got the connectivity options I have there. I have an Apple TV that I do use. The 4K latest model of an Apple TV is my main driver for my entertainment. So I'm not personally utilizing any of the apps from the TV, though the TV has been connected to the internet and it has been updated to its latest firmware. I wanted to make sure that at this point I had the latest and the best offering and the most stable offering that Sony has to put out for this TV. Again, it's been out more than a year. And so I wanted to invite myself to just be in the best seat there. But I haven't had issues with, like, you know, power. I've seen many of people that, you know, have said that at some point, you know, that they've had issues with the TV turning on slow. It's foreign to me. Okay. I've had issues with TV, as I was just speaking on in a prior transition. So it's one of those things where, like, if it was hidden for me, I'd definitely be showing it and talking about it. But yeah, so Google is the interface there. Works pretty good. I guess the best thing about having a Google interface for your TV is that you have more open source opportunities, right? Especially if you're a gamer. Like, you can go as far as to, like, downloading, like, emulation software on this thing and just, like, playing your games directly from it, connecting a Bluetooth controller. So it's really versatile in that sense. Not really like a gaming feature, but it is something that you can get away with using Google TV or the Google Play Store within the TV. So again, that's the default operating system, in which I don't have an issue with it. Not my favorite. Again, I have an Apple TV 4K connected to it, and that works really good for me. I love the video quality of it and everything else. For the sources that I use, Plex being the biggest thing. If I'm watching YouTube, Twitch, whatever, I just have everything loaded up to the Apple TV. Now, I do have the same apps on the TV for Google, right? But just more so as a means of testing. And so, you know, yeah, it's pretty nice there. So the most widespread issue that I've heard about, like, I don't personally have, but yeah. All right, so remote, pretty simplistic stuff. I like it. Very nice quality of build, backlit keys. This is a 2023, of course, so it does have removable batteries. Right now, when I turn the TV on, it is telling me that my battery is 20%. So some smart functionality there, where the remote is keeping a watch on how much battery is there, and so it does work pretty well to kind of let you know that there are all the run-of-the-mill things that you would need on the remote that's going to put you in position to be entertained. Nice quality of feel, feels nice and premium. Now, I do own a Bravia 9. I can't speak for the A95L in 2024. The Bravia 9 has a similar remote, but it does have a non-removable battery. So it's got a USB-C connection. Maybe the A95L does also have that for 2024. I'm not sure. But, you know, so far, so good. I like the remote. I haven't had any issues with it. And this is pretty much a carbon copy of the 2022 with the A95K. They just kind of fine-tuned it a little bit. And, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, if it's not broken, you don't really need to try to fix it, right? And I'm a firm believer of that. So the remote is pretty cool. Now, people that like to have a full 9 button layout, like for all the buttons, LG is kind of where you want to be at. But most of the other manufacturers, like Sony, like Samsung, they will have a digital button or keypad that kind of comes up on the screen if you hit a specific button. So you don't have to really worry about, well, I can't see the buttons. Now, that could be cumbersome or could be an issue if maybe you're elderly, or, you know, if you struggle with your eyesight and you want to be able to kind of see what's going on with the with like what you're punching in. But, you know, get familiar with the fact that the keypad is going to be digital on the screen. All right, now autofocus might be off a little bit, so if the screen looks a little bit crazy, it kind of is what it is. It's got a beautiful warm base to it right now, though it might be a little bit overblown, or, you know, the exposure might be very high on it. The TV doesn't, unfortunately, let me know exactly what the watch time is on the TV, but I've watched this TV a lot, right? I'm currently binge watching this show called The Chi, and I actually got all the way up to season 6, almost to the end, kind of like 3 episodes before the end, and just went back and watched it over again. So now I'm currently on season 3, on episode 10 on this finale. I've watched a lot of content on this. I pretty much watched the entire Walking Dead. I've watched some of the sub seasons of The Walking Dead, so some of the kind of the crossovers, or the branch offs, if you will. I've watched a lot of content, a lot of movie content, 4K stuff, 1080p stuff, some 720p, some 480p stuff. You know, I've done everything pretty much but connecting a VCR, which I got a VCR coming for some other content in the future, but I don't really need to do that here. But the TV has done a great job putting me in a position where I feel as if I am getting the best representation of whatever the content that I am trying to watch can offer me. I mean, you know, there's so many different settings within the TV, you really can get lost, but they've made it very simplistic for you to be able to go in and just preset the TV with some stock bases and just to give you a little bit of leg room to be able to kind of modify some different things, right? It does not take a lot of picture setting genius to set a Sony to look really good, and that's really a big part of what you're paying for. Okay, now a lot of this has to do with like its own processing. This is like physical matter within the TV that takes the content that's being played and it reproduces it. Doesn't produce it, but it reproduces it to be a little bit better. Okay, now better can always be subjective. It really is subjective. Like whatever you might feel is best might be different than myself, but it does a very good job. I think it's some of the best, so good to the point now we've got other companies like Samsung and LG actively working on quality in their processors, because that's really the heart of a TV today. Like when you're watching content, you need some type of metadata inside of the panel that's going to take what you're watching and it's going to try to fix it and clean it up, regardless of whatever your setting preferences might be. Maybe you like vivid or not, or in between. That doesn't matter. The actual quality of the content, the bit rate, everything of that nature needs to look good. And in my opinion, this TV has done it as good as I've ever seen done before. All right, so let's talk about gaming. And I can honestly admit to you that right now I don't have a gaming setup on this TV right now. And it's only because it's nearing the holiday season, and this is typically the time of the year where I do different PC builds, but I've long removed the console out of my living space. PC gaming is definitely where it's at now. It's going to be more on the expensive side, but if you've got an A95L, you're definitely not focused on that. But what I will say is that for me, it's also why I don't really focus much on feeling like I need to have more than two HDMI 2.1s, okay? And most people that are into console gaming today, not retro console gaming, but like new generation console gaming, you know, they're either one side of the spectrum or they're another. Now, there are many, I understand, like myself, that are going to have both an Xbox Series X and a PlayStation 5, which are the two platforms that do require an HDMI 2.1 for you to get the most robust video signal out of those consoles, i.e. 4K 120 if the game supports it. PC is the really only definitive way where you know without any type of question that if you have the right hardware, you can natively run some content, gaming content, in 4K at 120 frames per second, depending on your settings, okay? That being said, that's why I've chose to do gaming PC as a primary source. And in doing that, I spent many hours gaming on this thing. It works fantastic. 2023 was definitely the best year that Sony has had today. Of course, we're in 24 now, so things have gotten even better. There's been more options, right? But in 23, speaking on this TV since I got it that year, the best option that they've had. What do I mean? Well, what I mean is the lowest input latency that they've ever been able to produce and offer us. They've got the most gaming centric features, which they've continued to add, right? They've got some picture-in-picture options. We'll talk about that a little bit later, not within this video, but I have covered some of that, and I will card that in right now. The A95K from 2022 got an update, as well as the A95L got that update for you to be able to have like a picture-in-picture mode. And you know, it's just like they've taken, you know, a consideration to like adding things like a game bar, you know, to show you like what your frame rate is, to give you quick select options for you to be able to, you know, have different presets for gaming, things like RTS sports, you know, things of that sort. So they got some really good options for you now. The one big lack still for a lot of people is going to be, it doesn't have 2.1. And I personally feel like it's just a lot of what people will say if I'm gonna pay a certain amount of price for a TV, like $5,000 for a 77-inch, it should have X amount of features. And hey, I can't argue with the consumer. The consumer is always going to be right. But for me personally, I can say that I've been good. I've made my choice. I made my bed and I lay in it every night. Being PC gaming with the A95L is phenomenal. But the gaming side of this TV is just good. I have no complaints there. All right, well, the TV definitely has some nice audio features, right? It's got a feature that no other brand offers right now, and it's pretty much an option for you to actually have the TV itself to become a center speaker. Now, this is a pretty good feature. I wish other manufacturers would follow suit. Seriously, I would love to see Samsung, LG, and the rest of these guys make it so that the actual screen can be a center. Invite people that buy these super large displays that already have a outfitted audio system. Like myself, you don't have to have the best. I got a clip system. It's not the best, but it's good for me and it's what I like. Give me an opportunity so that if I don't want to have to buy a center speaker for them, because the center speaker comes down to being like the most annoying piece of the audio system, where you have to place it just right. You get it from the screen. So this TV has a feature where it can take literally the audio that it has itself and it projects that audio front facing just for the center speaker, right? So what are we talking about? We're talking as I'm watching Harry Potter, I'm listening to this content, right? And I'm getting the dialogue, I'm getting the vocals coming from this 77-inch screen. It's absolutely magical. That means that my separates from the left and the right and the subwoofers, the rears that are behind the camera, they can do what they need to do. And I've got this 77-inch acting as a center speaker. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm happy with my audio system. I got a clip system, as I just said, and I've got a nice center. It sits right under, gets the job done. I'm happy with that. But for those of us that want a cleaner install, because like when I get myself a newer house, I'm going to want to change things up. I'm not going to want to have to deal with a center speaker being there. I don't want it above. I don't want it below. I want it at the eye level where my TV is. It's the most phenomenal thing that you can get. So audio is really good on this TV. It sets you up to be in a good position there. So we've covered a lot of different things. I just wanted to make sure that every single timestamp or transition, I kind of just talked about some different things. I want to just talk about some of the opportunities that I feel like, you know, the TV definitely has. Well, today's standards, I would definitely like to see something beyond 120 hertz. I personally game on QD OLED monitors that have up to 240 hertz. I'm not expecting that out of this, but we are starting to see more 144 hertz displays, right? We're seeing it from LG now. 2024 was the first year that LG has implemented 144. I do own a smaller C4. They've got it in the G model, so that's really awesome. Samsung for 2 years now has produced 144 hertz. The first year with the S95B and those options had to be overclocked, but last year with 2023 C models, they were natively implemented into the TV, and those ran over with the D models in 2024, which I do also own a S95D. So I would like to see Sony produce something that's giving us 144 hertz. The HDMI issue, definitely I would love to see that being addressed. Now, whatever the official logistics is, I don't have enough data for that. I don't get into jumping down Reddit and all of these different forums and researching why Sony only has two 2.1 ports. It's working for me personally, but it's definitely a negative that I would like to see. You've got other companies that have been for the longest producing their own chips. It'd be nice if Sony could do that, or go to extra distance and figure it out so that we can get truly 4 HDMI 2.1 ports. Another thing that I feel like really could be worked on with this TV is to put us in a position where the game optimizer can be a little bit more robust. It is nice that we have this, and it's going in the right direction by them having it. Again, this has been since 2023 that we've had some really good gaming options from Sony, but I would like to see just a little bit more openness with it, right? I want to see some creativity. It just seems like it was kind of like a copy paste type of thing. We're all starting to see more game bars on other companies too, like TCL, like Hisense and such, but a lot of them are really basic. I think LG has the best offering right now, and me being predominantly a gamer with my big screen TVs, it's why, you know, LG is one of my favorite brands still to have today for gaming features. It's just very robust. I like to definitely see that with Sony too, to put us in a position where we we can experiment a little bit more and experience a little bit more information and data within their game optimization. Outside of that, man, I absolutely love the A95L. Now, one thing I do want to say is that I've seen some really helpful information from FOMO. He was kind of articulating the fact that at the shootout, Sony didn't specify if the model that won was utilizing a generation 3 panel or generation 2. He did specify that, you know, hey, they're not stockpiling like Gen 2 panels. So the TV that you buy today is not going to be the TV that I have, right? Which means that whatever I have going on with my TV in terms of its peak brightness and so forth and its performance should be better on the models that you buy today, right? So although it's the same model, it has been upgraded, possibly by the remote. As I was saying, I think it might have the Bravia 9 remote now in 2024, as well as a generation 3 panel, though that hasn't officially been spoke on. I do believe that to be the case, right? Outside of that, I love the TV. Is it worth 5Gs or whatever it costs now for you if you were to buy it? Hey, listen, I bought the TV in 2023. You know, I'm one of those guys that buy a lot of TVs. And in most cases, what we end up doing is we end up spending the money on TVs, and then we don't have buyer's remorse, but it's always that new thing, that fear of missing out. Ironically, I was just speaking about FOMO, that fear of missing out the next year or the next 6 months because Sony comes out late, right? So if they come out in August, in March, May, somewhere around that, you got Samsung, LG dropping their models. So now you're wondering, man, did I make the right decision 6-7 months ago buying what I bought? Well, in this instance, for it to win something like a TV shootout in 2024, being the same model that was represented in 2023, big deal, huge deal, right? Makes my pockets feel good that they can be fatter a little bit longer without me feeling like I need to go and buy a brand new model of this TV. And so even with there being a Gen 3 variant of this TV, I'm not feeling like I need to replace it because it's so darn good, so phenomenal. It's really good. They've done good on updating the firmware. I've just felt like it's been a really good investment for me. And I personally feel like it's just going to be a TV that I'm going to have for a while. Now, in my bedroom, I do currently have a 65-inch A95K. Again, that came out in 2022. Been enjoying that TV. I'm thinking that when it's time for me to retire that, maybe in a year or two, this is probably going to be the bedroom TV. Outside of that, listen, this is what I got. It's a brief review. Might be a little bit more on the lengthy side, but if you enjoyed it, leave a thumbs up. Let's leave some comments. Let's have some engagement, and I hope to catch you on the next video. Peace, God bless, and as I always say, max love.